Okay, guys. So today we will be discussing about the legal and ethical issues in disaster response. Okay? So meron na tayo na-discuss natin previously about mitigation, nag-risk assessment tayo para malaman natin kung ano ang mga risk natin dyan. And after identifying the risk, nalaman natin na kailangan gumawa tayo ng plan. Okay? So dun sa plan, alamin natin, kailangan i-include natin yung mga dapat na gagawin sa na-identified risk natin. The same way as what you did in your assignment. Okay? So meron na tayong response, meron na tayong preparedness. Ang preparedness natin ay yung mga dapat natin gawin. Like for example, sa drill. So sa RLE natin, mga drills din ang pinag-discuss natin. Okay? And then after that, we discussed about who are the government agencies responsible for the disaster response. During the impact of disaster, anong dapat gawin? And then, although hindi natin na-discuss about how to respond talaga doon sa ground zero kasi connected siya sa hospital disaster wherein after the prelim pa natin i-discuss. Okay? Kaya ang triaging sa prelim pa yan, sa ano pa yan, sa midterm pa yan. Kasi isa-isa natin yung mga iba-ibang klaseng triaging. So after the impact, di ba, nag-respond na, sino yung mga agencies na dapat mag-respond? Okay, don't forget about the government agencies who are responsible during mitigation. In the mitigation, meron tayong assessment and preparedness. Sa preparedness, meron tayong paano ang paggawa ng plan, ano-ano ang dapat gawin. And then sa response natin, sino ang mga responsible agencies. Okay? Sa recovery, sino ang responsible agencies. The same way as sa mitigation and preparedness. Okay? So don't forget yung napaka-importanting agency ng gobyerno na nagre-respond sa disaster bukod sa NDRRMC who is the overall parang siya yung incident commander na talagang namumuno talaga sa mga disaster. But the four agencies, don't forget sa mitigation phase, CDOST, okay, Department of Science and Technology, si DILG, Department of Interior and Local Government, ito yung sa preparation, sa response, si DSWD, and then sa recovery, si NEDA. Okay? So yun talaga ang napaka-laki ng role nila when it comes to each phases of the disaster. Okay? Now this time, mag-respond tayo na ground zero. Mag-respond tayo sa ano ang nangyayari sa mga tao doon. Like for example, so ano ang mga legal issues implicating sa mga stance natin as responder sa disaster. Okay? But before that, i-share ko muna sa inyo yung video natin about one disaster that happened in 2023, last year. Siguro naalala niyo to. Hindi ko tuloy
building after building disintegrating. The aftermath of one of the deadliest earthquakes in Turkey's history. Measuring 7.8 in magnitude and 18 kilometers in depth. This earthquake was shallow and powerful, the worst possible combination. It struck at 17 minutes past 4 in the morning, as many slept in their beds. The moment that changed so many millions of lives, captured here. What came next was almost beyond imagination. When daylight came, their world had been transformed into the most horrific landscape. Multiple-story buildings flattened. Whole streets destroyed within seconds. The southern Turkish city of Gaziantep was this earthquake's epicenter, but its shockwaves caused destruction across southern Turkey and neighboring Syria. Search and rescue teams began the near impossible, locating those trapped under the rubble. Quickly, relentlessly, the death toll rose from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands. And then, just 9 hours after the first, the second shallow quake, measuring 7.5 magnitude. Its tremors felt across the Middle East. For the rescuers, it was just what they didn't need.
Around 5 minutes ago, there was an aftershock of more than 6.5 magnitude, and it did cause certain extra damage, not just only hampering the rescue efforts. Because I did see on my way, this is my second visit here, some of the buildings that were fine before were also damaged. This is the second biggest earthquake in the last century that also brought officials here. I myself have visited my family to their 4 o'clock. All of a sudden, a quiet night became chaos.
The epicenter of Monday evening's quake was here in the southern Turkish city of Gaziantep. It lasted around 100 seconds and traveled about 400 kilometers in that time, wreaking havoc across southern Turkey and northern Syria. The second massive, shallow quake struck 9 hours later, just 60 kilometers north of the first, the district of Kahramanmaraş, causing further devastation to an already fragile region. No stranger to earthquakes, Turkey is relatively well equipped to deal with the fallout from disasters. In neighboring Syria, where there's already a decade-long humanitarian crisis, it's a very different story. Millions of displaced people, already vulnerable from fleeing civil war, living in the exact region worst hit. But earthquakes don't recognize borders, and responders are faced with a hugely complex job of navigating this human tragedy on multiple levels. The Syrian White Helmets are a group of civilian volunteers better known for their wartime rescue efforts in rebel-held areas in the north of the country. But with external aid unable to reach Syria, they were the only emergency response team on the ground. Here, one of their many remarkable rescues. little girl called called from underneath the rubble where she'd been for more than 24 hours. Thank God you're safe, her rescuer says, as her desperate father stands by, ready to take her into his arms.
جدا جدا صعب صراحة. هذا الألم الذي نعانيه يعني نحن نناشد منذ الساعات الأولى من هذا الزلزال بوصول هذه المساعدات، عندما نصل إلى حالة من الحالات وتكون قد فارقت الحياة، خلينا نقول منذ ربع ساعة أو منذ نصف ساعة، والله يعني نلوم نفسنا كثيرا إنه لو إنه كان في جهد أكثر، لو إنه في بين إيدينا كان معدات أكثر، كنا في الحالة طبعا عايشين.
War and earthquakes, one trauma following another, leaving a population in despair.
The scale of the damage is quite important. It's enormous. This is a region that has been already suffering from a difficult situation with very weak infrastructure, hospitals, and so on. We have a situation where people themselves are vulnerable, with 15 million already living in difficult situations here. And beyond that, now comes this earthquake that is compounding the suffering of the people.
Those hospitals that survived the quake were completely overwhelmed. Northern Syria's medical infrastructure has been crippled by years of heavy airstrikes. Doctors already struggling for resources or equipment, left unable to cope with the severity and the sheer scale of the injuries endured by the survivors.
يعني هلا اولادي ثلاثه هون والبنت الصغيره الحمد لله ما فيها شيء طاول. ثلاثه منهم شقوق في الراس والوجه، وعندي زوجتي كمان شقوق في الراس في الوجه. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلنا لهون، تمت الاسعافات الاوليه والحمد لله رب العالمين على قضاء الله. البناء مؤلف من 4 طوابق، 3 طوابق ما حدا طلع منهم طاول، الله كتب لي عمر جديد.
With hospitals full, doctors have to make life or death decisions at the door.
The earthquake, we started to receive many cases, hundreds of casualties. So far, the number is about 100. The martyrs is about 30. We know and we have information that hundreds of patients are still under the debris. The situation is too bad. We need urgent help.
Amid the chaos, often came the call for silence as rescue teams listen intently for voices. Hoping for the tiniest of sounds from underneath the rubble. An excruciating and often never-ending wait. The rescue and aid response was more coordinated in the urban areas of southern Turkey, but in remote mountainous villages and rural border towns, they're still waiting for outside help. As my team and I travelled into the disaster zone, we soon came across Ahmet Yilmaz, one of the only functioning airports. Having flown here from his home in South Wales, he was desperately trying to reach the mountain village he grew up in.
That's the house.
That's the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely collapsed. He showed me photos of his brother Ali's house. He tells me Ali is dead and his wife is seriously injured. 2 of their children, his nieces, are missing. We decide to travel with Ahmet, or at least get as close as we could to his village. On our way, he got a call from his niece to say that nobody was coming to help. As we climbed up into the mountains, it was easy to see why help might be hampered. These remote communities stood little chance. Ahmet, reunited with his sister Fatah, faced with the unimaginable task of looking for his missing nieces.
I never seen this happen before in my life. Never. And also, there is brothers and daughters.
So your two nieces are still.
They're missing, yes.
And has there been any other help from outside?
No, nobody has went outside.
But there's no police here, there's no military here, there's
From
no
the
help.
government, nothing. Nobody help. You see how many days the earthquake happens? In 3 days or 4 days, nobody comes. From the council, even government, even police or army, nothing.
Hatay, in Turkey's far southeastern corner, was one of the worst hit areas of this devastating earthquake. Its location on the Syrian border means it's become home to hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees fleeing war. It was a place struggling to cope before the ground beneath it shook. With no signs of professional help, people used whatever tools they could get their hands on, kicking through the debris, desperately trying to save those trapped inside.
We have no electricity. We have no any additional machines to supply our machines. We have no support yet from the government. We have
Now 4 hours, no one comes to
Yeah.
this.
nobody.
Are here to touch this. Understand? From the 40 hours. I am the one waiting here for 40 hours. No one can. It came an area here to touch.
Now we are dying here.
No
Just
one.
dying. Okay, just dying.
This boy was pulled out. Rescuers took him from his mother's arms to resuscitate him. They tried and tried, but they couldn't bring him back to life. There are glimmers of hope amid the bleakness. This baby was carried out from a crushed building, alive, followed by its mother. She's weak and traumatized, but she and her baby are both alive. Together, they survived more than 24 hours after their home collapsed around them. There are questions over how prepared they were here for a natural disaster long predicted to happen. But these rescuers just focused on the job in front of them, and every person they held down to safety spurred them on. As time passes, there's less and less likelihood of finding people alive. The cruel winter weather only shortens the window of hope. The snow hampers aid reaching more rural areas. The sub-zero temperatures are punishing for the homeless survivors. No wonder that warm clothes are thought of.
Hiçbir şey. Bakın pijamayla çıktım, pijamayla çıktım.
Well, I've been to many earthquakes in Nepal and Haiti, but these are mainly poor countries where you don't expect a proper response. But this is Turkey, a relatively rich country, but it is just the scale of the
tragedy here that has overwhelmed the authorities. And as for over the border in Syria, well, the question there is really, does the government even care about the people in those northern areas that it doesn't control? In many areas of Syria, they are still trying to scrape away at the piles of rubble, looking for survivors. It is no easy task in a place already devastated by more than a decade of war. But moments like this one make it all worthwhile. A newborn baby, still tied by umbilical cord to her dead mother, was safe. She is a miracle orphan, her skin raw from the cold and bruised from the crush. She is recovering in an incubator in hospital. Her tragedy is the story of countless other children in a disaster which continues to get worse.
About 70% of the patients that we're receiving are children. And this is horrific. You can imagine that our healthcare infrastructure here is already collapsed after 12 years of war. There's severe funding cuts. We were already struggling before this crisis hit us. Right now, our hospitals are not coping. Our doctors are totally overwhelmed. We've been working flat out without sleep since the earthquake hit. I mean, it's just disastrous.
The search in Syria will keep going, but the devastation that sweeps as far as the eye can see is a constant reminder of how much the teams on the ground have left to do. Back over the border in the Turkish city of Kahramanmaraş, a man has been rescued after being trapped for 48 hours, but he's not relieved. He's distraught.
Öldük geri dirildik, öldük ama çocuklar içeride. Çocuklarım içeride. Orada bir sürü yaşayan insan vardı. Seslerini değil ama taşlarla bir haber veriyorduk, duvarlara vurarak ses yapıyorduk. Ama hiçbir çalışma yapmadı. Yani orada yaşayan insanlar bu zamana kadar bekler mi ya?
The rescue operation is improving every day, but it's too late for so many who survived the earthquake itself, but not the hours and the days afterwards. President Erdogan made a plea for international help soon after, and it has started to arrive. Qatar, a close ally of Turkey's, is one of the 45 countries that has sent aid and manpower. Britain is another.
People are going to move out first. Give us a good head start. We'll get clear. We'll go straight to our sector and work from there. Keep communications. Keep together as a team.
A team of 77 firefighters have got to work in Hatay. They brought specialist equipment, sniffer dogs, and hope.
There's always hope, but there's lots of evidence to suggest people in the right conditions survive for quite some time. So yeah, that's what we're here for.
The British search and rescue team have seismic listening devices and concrete breaking equipment. So if there are people still alive in some of the voids inside the wreckage, they stand a chance of reaching.
Got lots of information about the type of collapse, the type of spikable voids, the likelihood of people in there. Got an indication from the dog. Like all we're going to do is recording all of that information now and then deciding to send a team here. Initially, this one is quite dangerous and it's going to take a long time to dig in and find out. There's no clear, precise indications that's live in there at the moment. So that's still what we're searching for. So we're still looking.
I've been in the Turkish city of Nurdan, where workers are making frantic rescue attempts. The girl is calling urgently for their help. I've heard my sister crying in the rubble, she says. Please be quick, please.
Girmeyin abi.
The grandfather is being ushered away from a scene he can't bear to leave. Is she dead, he says. Please be alive. With the ambulance on its way, the search team listen for signs of life.
Akşamdan beri yaşıyorum ya. Akşamdan beri yaşıyorum.
We are here since yesterday night, he tells me. We will find her. We will find her. And with that, the sister of the missing girl passes out.
More than 3 days on, and it is the frantic nature of the search now and the humanity of it all. People willing the rescuers to succeed here, but often it's desperate hope followed by the depths of grief.
They didn't hear another voice, but that doesn't stop them waiting. As we left, hope was fading here. The girl who fainted was back. She will not give up. An hour away from Nurdar in Gaziantep, I get the opportunity to speak to one of the heroic rescue workers. Seyman has been helping find people since the quake hit.
It's so hard for me because I'm from Gaziantep and there my family and my friends are living in here and searching and finding someone. It's so hard for me because emotionally or physically the conditions are so difficult, especially the weather is too cold. It's really so hard. I'm social worker. Sometimes I'm crying, sometimes, and I try to feel my better, and I try to see the people. Yes, this is just a number because if they feel the empathy, I can't work here. I'm not okay, but I have to be okay.
The coming months and years, the towns and cities of this region will be rebuilt. In many cases, they may well be improved. As for the people, well, they will not recover so easily. Their lives torn apart by the scale of the loss here will, for many, be defined by this tragedy.
The Turkey-Syria earthquake of winter 2023 will be remembered for generations. Marked down as one of the darkest days in its history.
Okay. Okay. So nakita nyo kung paano yung nangyari last time sa ground zero. Okay? Or sa ilagay natin sa disaster zone. So sobra silang devastated. Nakita nyo ang mga magulang, mga lolo, even yung mga rescuer, and nagse-celebrate din sila ng masaya din kasi meron silang na-rescue na after 24 hours meron pang mga buhay, lalo na mga bata. Kaya nakita nyo sumisigaw talaga sa katuwa sila. Okay? So, as you can see, the emotions of these people. So, kung for example, nandun ay may mga nurses din. Okay? Sobrang pati ikaw maging affected din talaga sa kanila. This lady who was talking in the last part might be a nurse as well, but hindi lang na-inform or hindi lang pinakilala as a nurse. Okay? Pero might be a nurse lang din. Okay? So, ngayon, tignan na natin ano ba talaga ang mga legal implications or mga legalities when it comes to disaster response. So, in here, we will be discussing about legal and ethical framework in disaster response. Meron tayong crisis standards of care. In a normal situation, meron tayong standard of patient care. Okay? Pero when it comes to crisis, meron tayong crisis standard of care. So, tignan nyo kung ano ang difference ng dalawang yan. And then there is also ethics when it comes to disaster, because we will be dealing with our own responsibility, our restrictions, and resource allocation. Resource allocation means gaano kadami ba yung casualty, ilan lang ba ang nandyan to rescue, okay? Or mga people who are capable of rescuing these individuals. And ano yung capacity and capabilities nila. And then specific legal and ethical issues na also we will discuss, okay? So for our objectives, you are to gain understanding about the legal and ethical framework related to disaster response, discuss the different ethical issues. Ito ay kasama ang responsibility, restriction of liberty, and the resource allocation. And of course, ano ba ang mga iba-ibang ethical issues, legal and ethical issues. So dito na tayo sa legal and ethical framework. Okay, now in the United States, let's compare the United States and the Philippines. In the United States, they are empowered with a complete array of unlimited public health powers. Okay, ano-ano yon? One is the power to enforce quarantine that was exercised during the pandemic. And then they are required for vaccinations. They impose disease reporting requirements and any other power needed to protect the public's health. This is when it comes to like a big breakthrough ng sakit. Okay? So dito naman sa atin, the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act serves as the country's foremost legal instrument and guiding policy. Kumbaga, nandun talaga sa NDRRMC ang pinaka-power when it comes to managing disaster. Dito sa US, iba-ibang department, iba-iba ang empowered to do the thing. Ito yung example lang para sa, like for example, pandemic, which was considered as disaster last time. Okay? Now, let's see the Philippines. So, in terms of arrangement, si pinaka-decision maker ay si NDRRMC. And then, under sa kanya ay mga different government agencies. Ito na yung sinasabi natin, mga DOST, DILG, DSWD, and NEDA, and the other different government agencies which was identified last week. And then under dyan sa mga different government agencies, meron tayong collaboration and coordination with civil society organizations like for example the Red Cross, okay, or other mga humanitarian agencies na tumutulong when it comes to crisis. And then connected tayo under sa, like for example, under sa DOST, sino ang mga LGUs natin or local government units. No, ito na yung mga municipality natin. Okay, like for example, the city of Las Marinas, yung mayor's office, iyan. Okay, and then under that is the DRRMO and BDRRMC. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga pababa na sa mga barangay area na. Okay, sa district and barangay. Okay, so ito yung organized na arrangement natin when it comes to disaster response. Okay? So, ibig sabihin dito, si NDRRMC talaga ang gagawa ng desisyon papunta sa government agencies and downward. Okay? So, ito naman ang mga legislations natin or mga policies natin when it comes to disaster response. Okay? So all of these are guided by presidential decree or yung na-approve na batas ng bansa. Okay. Here we have the National Disaster Coordinating Council, the NDRRMC. Okay. The Disaster Coordinating Council, yung pinaka-council ng ng disaster. Okay. these are mga kumbaga sila yung sakop nila yung national, buong bansa at mga provincial and municipalities. Okay, ang purpose naman ng our agency na to is emphasizes disaster prevention, preparedness, mitigation, and community preparedness against natural and man-made hazards. So that is the reason why in most times meron tayong mga balita about upcoming mga typhoon and things like that. Sinasabi na yan kung ano ang dapat natin gawin, lalo na they use the media to inform us. Okay, so ito is from the NDCC. Then the government of the Philippines, meron din, okay? So they are responsible for the development and yung pagbigay ng policy sa mga local governments, okay? So local governments, these include the government and provinces, municipalities, and barangay. Ano ang purpose nito? Is to achieve decentralization. Okay? Ibig sabihin para kumalat yung information. Okay? Information, policy, lahat-lahat, or even response and even yung mga tulong na galing sa ibang lugar. Okay? So sa kanila yan, sa kanila nanggagaling yan. At yung batas na ginawa nila ay para at target para sa mga local governments, including the barangays na. And then meron tayong Bureau of Fire Protection. Itong sa Bureau of Fire Protection, national din yan. Kaya nakikita nyo na every time na meron disaster, meron talagang firemen or yung mga galing sa BFP. Okay? Now, they were assigned. Okay, they were assigned by the national government, which is the president, to issue rules and regulations relating to fire management, to oversee the national fire safety across sectors. So ibig sabihin buong bansa talaga. Ayun pa rin, from the LGUs down to the local government, to the barangays. And then Climate Change Commission, ito naman ay mga batas para sa when it comes to mga climate issue, okay? So they are also targeted, or they are covered the whole nation. They cover the whole nation, including municipalities and provinces. So ano ang ginagawa nila? Yung batas na yan is para ma-monitor and evaluate all national programs and action plans para at least ma-guarantee na meron tayong action sa mga identified risk. Okay? So, kumbaga, alam nila na itong batas na to ay targeted para sa lahat ng area ng Pilipinas to monitor at evaluate yung program. So, ibig sabihin, kung meron kang, like for example, si Leyte, si Samar, di ba high risk talaga sila sa tsunami. So, ang responsibilidad nitong batas na to is to program nila at yung action plan nila ay talagang ini-implement, okay? And to make sure na magiging less ang impact sa mga possible na risk, which is the tsunami, dahil si program nila ay panay ang practice. So kapag sanay na kasi ang tao sa mga practice, alam na kaagad nila kung ano ang dapat gawin. Okay? Next. So, the government of the Philippines also may legislation targeted sa mga national up to down to the municipalities. And then this one is focusing on the proactive disaster and climate risk reduction. Proactive, ibig sabihin, hindi pa nangyayari, alam pa lang nila na coming pa lang, talagang tina-target na nila kung ano ang mga dapat na action plan. Okay? and a whole of society approach, which includes considerations to gender and indigenous people. Ito yung mga tinatawag natin mga considered as mga vulnerable people, indigenous people. Okay? Sino-sino yung mga indigenous people? Pwede ba ako magtanong? Sino-sino yung mga indigenous people? Madi, may idea ka ba? Madi, nandyan ka? Okay, Amanda.
Yung mga ano po, ma'am, Igorot, Ifugao po.
Okay, mga Igorot, Ifugao. Yes, may point ka, pero hindi lang yan, hindi lang talaga yan sila, pero yung mga palagay natin yung mga yung mga homeless, yung mga nakatira sa yung yung hindi naman tunay na bahay nila. Okay, hindi tunay na bahay nila, pero ilagay natin yung mga below level ng low income community. Okay, ibig sabihin yung nabubuhay lang sila sa rasyon, yung mga ganyan, kasama sila, okay? Indigenous people. Kasama din yan sa mga Igorot kasi, pero meron mga Igorot, mayayaman yan ha. Uy, may mga Igorot, mayayaman na yan. May mga tribo-tribo, meron sa kanila mayayaman. Pero kung sabihin natin yung talaga, indigenous, yun talagang below level, below income. Below the below income level. Okay? So, ayan. So, siyempre, homeless sila, tapos mangyari pa sa kanila yan, ano ang pwedeng mangyari? O kaya may bahay naman sila, kunting silong, like for example, barong-barong. Pero kapag natamaan ng bagyo, ano na mangyayari? Homeless na sila. Magiging homeless na talaga sila. Okay, so iyan yung mga target din ng government. Then we also have the field box and pag-asa. So alam niyo na kung ano ang ginagawa nila, ano ang role nila. Okay, so they have the policy of calamity hazard mitigation program. Ito is by sector. Okay, but again, target din to, kahit nasabihin natin sectoral, pero target siya sa area kung saan talaga affected. Kasi kung for example, meron naman tayong pag-asa, meron tayong sinasabing may dadating na bagyo, pero hindi naman yan dadating sa buong Pilipinas. May area lang ng Pilipinas dadating. Okay? So, ayan. So, ang purpose naman nila is to establish natural calamities hazard and mitigation program. So, isa sila sa mga nag-ano sa atin. Yung mga cellphone nyo, di ba? Yung kapag may earthquake, kapag may typhoon or bagyo, tumutunog ang cellphone nyo. Kasi nga, ina-inform tayo na may upcoming risk, may upcoming like bagyo or whatever, okay? When it comes to earthquake, sinasabi yan, dumadating pa rin sa atin, lalo na kapag malapit tayo sa epicenter. Ina-inform din tayo na may earthquake na ganito, intensity ganito, tapos mag-ingat, dahil posible na sa mga aftershock and things like that, tapos meron mga steps kung anong dapat gawin. Nandyan yan lagi sa cellphone natin kapag yung cellphone nyo is registered or under the government jurisdiction na nag-ano tayo. Diba lahat tayo nag-register? Okay? So meron tayong dumadating sa atin mga balita from Pag-asa and PHIVOLCS. And then Government of the Philippines also, meron tayong NDRRMP. Okay? Ibig sabihin yung plan. Okay, so the plan should encompass the whole nation, including districts and municipalities. Okay, so kasi ang aim nila is to guarantee sustainable climate adaptive and disaster resilient sa mga tao. Pag sinabi natin sustainable, ibig sabihin kahit may dagok na ng bagyo, kahit may bagyo, okay, kahit ang lakas ng bagyo, meron certain may certain way na para walang mangyayaring casualty. Okay lang yan, mawala ang property o hilain ang bahay ng malakas na hangin, pero ang buhay ng tao nasa safe. Okay? So yun yung pinaka-ano nila. And then, meron, dinedevelop nila yung maging adaptive tayo and maging resilient kasi alam niyo naman na as when we start in this topic, nalaman natin na we are located in the Ring of Fire. At ang dami talagang mga typhoon dito, 22 to 24 or something. Meron nga up to 26. Hindi naman siguro matapos lahat ang alphabetical order ng ano natin hanggang 24, di ba? And then sa mga tawag nito, sa mga earthquake din, ganun din. So nandito tayo sa very high risk area or geographical area. So ito ay binibigay o ginagawa nilang batas para at least marami ang mas safe when it comes to events like this or tragedy like that. Okay? The Department of Disaster Resilience, again, ito ay binuo dahil ang aim nga nila is to maintain sustainability and resilience. Okay? Now dito, as advised by the National Disaster Resilience Council to mainstream disaster and climate risk reduction across sectors. So, ibig sabihin sa lahat, including local government, down to the barangay, to focus on local resilience and proactive recovery and rehabilitation. So, ibig sabihin nun na alam na o kunyari, alam na may dadating na bagyo. Okay? O malakas ito 210 kilometers per hour to. Pwede madala ang bahay nyo. So ano ang gagawin natin? So just in case lang, kasi maging aware kayo, lagi kayo makinig sa balita dahil alam nyo kung nasaan na ang bagyo. Okay? Sometimes sinasabi nila 3 hours or few hours before the landfall of the bagyo or the typhoon, pinapalikas na nila yan, pinapa-evacuate kasi hindi nga talaga alam kung gaano katindi ang impact niyan. Remember in Typhoon Haiyan or yung nangyari sa Samar, sa Leyte, ano ba tawag nun? Yolanda, yung Yolanda. Ang nangyari doon, ang in-inform ng Pag-asa is there will be a storm surge. Okay? Surge. S-U-R-G-E. Yun ang sinabi nila. So, yung mga tao naman, of course, yung mga tao, iba-iba ang interpretation ng storm surge. Okay? So, hindi sila naging aware na ganon katindi talaga. Kaya, sobrang dami ang casualty. Okay? That made the other nations to come and help us and to rescue, help also to rescue people in Leyte. Just like in the earthquake in Turkey, as you have seen in the video, sobrang dami. Alam mo, meron din tayo, nagpadala din tayo doon ng rescuers. Okay, mga Pilipino rescuers. I have seen Japan, I have seen China, I have seen Indians who sent their rescuers in Turkey to help them rescue most of the people under the rubble. The only thing is that yung namang nangyari sa Turkey, alam niyo sa Middle East kasi very seldom talaga or not, it never happened na nagkaroon ng earthquake. Hindi talaga yan nagkakaroon ng earthquake. So, ito lang lately lang talaga naroon na sila ng earthquake. So, the thing is, yung building preparation nila is not as sturdy as ours. Kasi we are located in the Ring of Fire. We are aware na meron tayong mga ganito. So, the Japanese people have developed something like the building can withstand the earthquake. Meron silang nilagay sa pinaka-basement ng building na para pag nag-earthquake, sasayaw lang yan. Kaya pag nandun ka sa pinakataas ng building, talagang mahihilo ka kasi sumasayaw talaga ang building. Pero it can withstand even the Richter scale of about intensity 5 to 6 ganun. So ano talaga kasi naka-develop sila yung parang nakaduyan lang, meron silang nilagay na parang ring or spiral chuchu para lang hindi apektado sa pinaka-earthquake. Okay? Pero this kind of technology was developed after what had happened in Japan way back how many years ago, yung nagkaroon sila ng big earthquake and tsunami. So because of that, na-develop nila yung klaseng building na ganyan. But what happened in Turkey is yung mga bahay nila since noon pa yan at wala silang preparation about earthquake because it never happened in their place, never happened in the Middle East. Kahit sa Saudi Arabia wala. Kahit sa Saudi Arabia noon walang baha, pero ngayon meron ng baha sa Jeddah, nagbabaha na sila. So, ibig sabihin, because of the climate change, things change as well. So, itong mga bahay sa Turkey, nung nag-shake or nagkaroon ng earthquake, talagang nag-collapse, naging parang pulbo talaga sila lahat, mga building. So, dahil walang proper preparation noon, basing na hindi naman nangyayari ang earthquake sa kanila. So dito sa atin, dahil nandito talaga tayo sa ilang volcanoes na kapaligid sa atin, so talagang ang bahay natin, talagang pati building, talagang makaka-withstand sa earthquake. Huwag lang talaga yung sobrang malakas. Siyempre, hindi na makakaya yan. Okay? Ayun. So, where are we now? Now, let's talk about the crisis standards of care. Remember, guys, ang crisis standards of care is implemented during or on the actual response. Okay, yung actual response talaga. Now, this can happen in the ground zero or in a hospital situation. Okay, so by definition, it is a substantial change in usual healthcare operation and the level of care it is possible to deliver, which is made necessary by pervasive, catastrophic, like for example, earthquake and hurricane, na sinasabi natin, disaster. Okay? This is definition defined by the Institute of Medicine Committee sa US. So nagkaroon tayo ng crisis standard of care dahil para alam natin kung paano natin i-handle ang mga casualties, ang mga dapat natin i-save. Okay? So this crisis standards of care serves as guideline for us as healthcare provider para kahit papano i-deliver natin ang best possible care to our patients or to the casualty individual under the extraordinary circumstance. Ibig sabihin yun, yung pinaka, like for example, earthquake, yung kagaya na nakita nyo kanina sa video, of an ever-overwhelming disaster or public health emergency. Okay? Now, ano ang difference ng crisis standard of care doon sa medical or yung standard of care natin sa hospital? Ethically, okay, lahat ng pasyente ay dapat makakatanggap ng possible or best possible care. Okay? Best possible care. Kaya ethical goals in medical care do not change, including during disaster. And the quality of care remains unchanged given the resources at hand. Ganon pa rin ang dapat. Ang way of caring natin, way of responding, lahat yan. And the quality of care remains the same. Okay? So the guidelines can be used or may be used when there are not enough healthcare resources to provide the usual standard of care. Okay? So ano-ano ang wala pa siyang guideline dito kasi I think this time hindi pa well declared talaga or well completed yung guideline kasi during that time which was last year they met para gawin yung guideline. At ito ang mga laman ng guideline nila na it will serve as guide para sa mga rescuer and things like that. Lalo na sa healthcare facilities or sa mga healthcare people, including hospitals. Okay? So, dito, it says that hospitals and long-term care facilities may be without power, may be without trained staff, may be without ambulance, medical supplies, and beds. Kumbaga, kulang, magiging kulang, okay? And the alternate facilities may need to be used. So, scarce resources to allocate equitably. Ibig sabihin, kahit kulang na kulang, okay, kahit kulang yan siya, so kailangan talaga yung resources or yung resource allocation should be equitable. Yun. Ibig sabihin lang dyan na kung sino talaga, dahil scarce ang resources, di ba? So kung sino talaga ang pinakakailangan, yun muna ang gagawin mo. Okay? Paano mo ma'am sinabi na equitable yan? Eh kung kailangan din yung isa. Kung kailangan naman din ng isa ng care mo, pero ang kabila na kung kailangan ng kanan mo ang care mo, pero ang kaliwa mo ay mas tigok-tigok na kailangan and based on your evaluation, kailangan talaga siyang isave, unahin mo syempre siya. Para pareha silang buhay. Kasi unahin mo si kanan kasi magaling to, madali tong trabaho kasi okay na siya. Tapos iniwan mo siya, alam niya naman na napaka-importante ang oras when it comes to disaster. So, inuna mo yung magaling na, okay na, nag-render ka ng care doon, kahit simple ang niya. And not necessarily na walang nangyari sa kanya, pero in great pain din, but not necessarily as tigok-tigok. Okay? So, sinong uunahin mo? So, timbangan mo. Okay? So, ang pinaka-importante ay iyon muna. But again, remember guys, during disaster, you really have to have quick assessment. Hindi necessarily na tigok-tigok yan, yun talaga ang unahin mo. Look at the patient. Ano ba ang magiging quality of life niya when you implement your resuscitation to this patient? Ano ba yung maging quality of life? Makakatulong ka pa ba siya sa society? Makakatulong or makakakontribute when it comes to tulong or contribute to the society? Ibig sabihin, as a male victim, makaka-perform pa kaya siya as tatay sa pamilya, yung mga ganyan? Or as female, ganun din, makaka-perform ba siya as nanay sa pamilya? Nakaka-contribute pa talaga ba siya sa society? So, ganun. So, importante talaga natin alamin kung ano ang quality of life nila. So, kung for example, alam mo na ang quality of life nila na like for example, nakita mo, yellowish siya, matanda na siya, tapos tigok-tigok, talagang, tapos malaki ang tiyan, mukhang may cirrhosis ito. So, alam nyo anong cirrhosis? Cancer of the liver. So, sinong uunahin mo? Yung kanan mo o kaliwa? So, ganun. Masakit talaga. Masakit when it comes to, kasi buhay yan eh. Buhay yung tinitignan natin. Tayo, nag-aral tayo, alam natin na yung pag-aalaga natin sa mga tao ay walang pili-pili. We are implementing justice to all. Okay? Lahat sila may equitable care rendered. Kay mayaman o mahirap and things like that. But when it comes to disaster, ito na nga ang sinasabi natin, ang isa sa mga crisis standard of care is to check also kung paano i-allocate ang resources natin. It should be equitable. But again, equitable na malalaman mo based on your proper assessment kung kailangan ba talaga niya ang care mo o hindi. Okay? So, syempre, unahin mo yung isa na in great pain also na tawag nito, na hindi naman tigok-tigok. Yung isa kasi tigok-tigok pero wala ng quality of life after. Okay? Masakit kung kahit sasabihin mong wala ng quality of life after, is it as you can imagine, parang ang sakit kasi buhay yun eh, di ba? Parang hindi makaya ng konsensya natin. Pero ano ba talaga, ang pinaka-purpose ng disaster is to save more lives. Now, these lives are those lives that can, after all, after what happened, can still contribute to the society. Okay? Ayan. So the goal of the crisis standard of care is to extend care to as many patients as possible and to save as many lives as possible. So yun talaga ang pinaka-goal ng crisis standard of care. Okay? Save more lives, save more life years. So when you say save more life years, you have to look at the quality of life after you help them. Save most productive life years. Women and children. First come, first serve. Market-based. O, ano ibig sabihin ng first come, first serve? Kung ano yung nahawak mo, na alam mo nga, no, save mo na yan. Okay? But again, tignan mo maigi. You have to be proactive also. Baka sinabi mong first come, first serve, eh yung pangalawa pala, mas tigok-tigok kaysa yung unang dumating sa'yo. Di ba? So you really have to use your judgment. Then market-based. Bakit sinabing market-based ito? Now, market-based is based on, meron tayong, parang ano yan, parang politics lang. Okay? So they really have to make the people aware, the public, that they are there to help. They are there rescuing. They are doing the thing. Okay? Because as as people of the government, as yung mga tauhan ng agencies na yan, responsibilidad nila yan based on sa kanilang mga kakayahan. So, market-based is, syempre, nakikita ng mga tao ay LG kasi inayos nila lahat ng mga ganyan. Magaling pala ang NEDA kasi after pala ng meron na kaagad nakahanda na evacuation center para sa kanila, may temporary housing na binibigay. Or magaling pala ang NEDA, may nakalaan na talagang housing pala, yung mga ganon, di ba? So market-based siya. Okay, so here let's talk about the ethical considerations of the crisis standard of care. Ang sabi natin, when we talk about ethics, dapat may fairness, may justice. Okay? Standards of care that is recognized as fair by all those affected. Ibig sabihin, nandun lahat, inasikaso natin. Hindi lang naman ikaw, hindi ikaw as isang tao lang. Siyempre, in a ground zero, in a disaster zone, talagang nandun yung mga ibang tao na kagaya natin na magre-rescue din. Pero we have to make sure as a team that each and everyone affected receive care. Okay? Duty to care asserts healthcare workers to have a special responsibility to provide care in crisis circumstance. Okay? By virtue of their position and training, benefits they have received previously, and professional norms. Okay? So ito yung now tayo, meron tayong mga doktor, meron din duty to care. Okay? So this is pertaining to the nurses and doctors. So minsan sabihin natin ay hindi ako makapunta kasi ganon. Pero minsan nakokonsensya tayo. Nandito ako, naging nurse ako. Tinawag ako as a nurse. Kasi remember, nurse is a calling. Nurse is a vocation. Tapos, ang dami kong dahilan. So, sometimes we feel guilty, di ba? So, the duty to care may conflict with duty to oneself or family as well as obligations to provide only the highest quality of care. Ito na yung sinasabi natin. During the pandemic, yung mga babae, meron mga baby, may mga anak, they were in crisis. Bakit? Kasi Ano ba, magtatrabaho ba ako? Ano ba, magre-report ba ako sa hospital? What if? What if? What if? Okay? Dahil iniisip din nila ang pamilya nila. So they were in dilemma as well. But again, sometimes masabi natin, hindi wala tayong magawa kasi ito ang trabaho natin. Okay? But the government responded to that. They addressed to that dilemma. So mamaya alam natin. Okay? Mamaya alamin natin kung ano mga yan. So we also have duty to steward resources. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin nun, steward natin ang mga available resources. We have to make sure that we use them or we maximize its use to the number of people that can be benefited. Okay? So it is the obligation of the government and private sectors to use resources efficiently in the context of disaster. Sabihin kung ano-ano yung mga resources kailangan alagaan din natin. Like for example, mga nurses. Oo nga, paano kung mahawa ang anak ko? Paano kung paano yan? Pero kung hindi naman ako magtatrabaho, wala naman akong saod, paano naman kami kakain? So, nandun ka sa caught in between ka, dilemma ka. Okay? So, ang mangyayari dyan, kailangan alagaan tayo ng gobyerno. That is the reason why yung mga nurses who responded sa pandemic because of the COVID-19, meron silang risk allowance, meron pa silang mga proper PPE, meron silang free meal, lahat yun. Binigay yun sa kanila. Meron free dormitory kasi they are not supposed to go home every now and then. Kailangan dito ka lang and then kung kailan mahaba ang off mo, saka ka uuwi to minimize cross-infection to the family. Okay? So, inaalagaan ng government ang mga frontliners. Now, when it comes to private sectors, the same way, kailangan talaga the private sector should also do the same as how the government provide to the workers or health workers. That is the reason why yung mga private sectors, pag ikaw ay COVID ka at na-admit ka doon, milyon-milyon talaga ang hindi naman siguro milyon, umaabot ng milyon. Kasi umaabot ng 3 days lang, umabot ng mga 500,000, 3 days to 4 days, ganyan. Bakit? Lahat ng PPE sinisingil sa inyo. Lahat ng gloves sa inyo, sa pasyente, lahat ng gloves, lahat ng gamit. When it comes to protecting the safety of the nurse, bayad yan. Binabayaran ni patient yan. Kaya sobrang laki talaga ang bill ni patient. Remember, every shift, okay? Every shift. Meron tayong 3 shifts. Now, during pandemic, ginawa na lang nila 2 shifts. So, 12 hours sila. So, 12 hours. Yung PPE na, yung overall gear, PPE ang mahal nun. Okay? So, yung gloves, every now and then na pinapalitan. Okay? Ang daming mga gamit na kailangan. Like, if there is a doctors coming in, gagamit din siya ng PPE. May bayad yun. Okay? So, ayun. Now, this is on how we take care of our employee or health workers. Wait lang, guys.
Mag-concern yung student kasi hanggang 9 AM na naman yung papatch na si H.
Oo. Oo. Si Simon, papaat niya.
Bibigyan mo siya ng form.
Oo, bigyan mo ng form. Tsaka yata, INP. Pwede na siya mag-INP, di ba? Pwede na siya mag-INP. Okay? Next is transparency. There should be transparency in design and decision-making of all involved. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga information, lahat ng mga ginawa, lahat ng mga binigay, okay, or any kind of care binigay at any decision made, dapat may transparency. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin ng transparency? The patient is aware. Okay? Kaya, yung mga mga PPE na yan, alam nila yan na sinisingil sila yan gamit sa kanila eh. Okay? Next, there should be consistency. There should be consistency in application across population and among individuals regardless of their condition. Consistency. When you say giving nursing care, consistent ka. Hindi pwedeng, ay okay na siya, hindi na ako pupunta sa kanya. Kahit okay na siya, hindi naman yan magiging okay kung wala ka. Hindi mo ma-evaluate, hindi mo ma-assess. Kung okay na talaga siya, di pa alisin mo na, pa-discharge na natin, di ba? Pero still, kapag nakita natin na na-revive na si patient and things like that, still, nandun pa rin tayo pabalik-balik because the consistency of care should be there until the patient discharge. Okay. Promotionality. Now, promotionality, ito yung mga sinasabi nating tawag nito, yung kung ano ang dapat gawin when it comes to disaster o disaster. Like for example, ito coming March, meron tayong sinasabing Fire Prevention Month. Okay? So, kailangan, ngayon pa lang, ina-announce na yan. Ngayon pa lang, may program na ang mga Bureau of Fire Protection about mga hazards of fire. Okay? So, the public and individual requirements must be commensurate with the scale of the emergency and degree of scale resources. So, like for example, yung isang barangay, isa lang ang o kunyari itong DASMA. 'Di ba ang laki ng DASMA? Pero isa lang ang fire truck nyo. Isa lang ang fire truck ng DASMA. So, according to the degree or scarce of the resources, kailangan gumawa tayo ng bagay or action para at least walang mangyayaring sunog. So continuous effort yan to promote fire prevention, yung mga ganyan. Tapos meron nag-iikot pa yan, mag-inspection, yung mga ganon. And health, hindi naman health teachings, pero yung education to the community and public. Okay, yung ginagawa nila. And accountability. So accountability is tawag nito. Teka lang. Oo. Sige. Okay, so ang accountability is the accountability of individuals deciding and implementing standards. Kung kunyari ikaw ang rescuer. Okay? So ikaw, ano ang desisyon mo? Ano ang ginawa mo? Okay? Paano mo na-implement yan? So you are accountable to your own action. Okay? And the government should also ensure of your protection. Ikaw as a nurse, okay? Of your protection. Yung kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo kanina. Okay? Na kailangan steward tayo ng mga resource. Meron sa crisis standard of care, meron steward sa mga resources. So tayo yun, mga nurse, okay? Kailangan alagaan natin maigi. Pero tayo, meron tayong accountability sa mga action natin, sa mga decision making natin and things like that. Okay? Pero i-ensure na pinoprotektahan tayo. Okay? Ayun. Now, what are the ethics involved in disaster response? So, kagaya ng diniscuss natin kanina, we have responsibility, restrictions, and resource allocation. Responsibility, to care despite personal risk. Ito ay yung duty to treat. Paano ba yan? Lalo na yung infectious diseases. Kasi kapag may outbreak, disaster na din yan. So, ako ba ay pupunta o hindi? Ako ba ay mag-duty o hindi? So, dilemma si nurse dyan. Okay? Restrictions on liberty. Now, restrictions on liberty, sometimes as the condition arises, the people understand. So, medyo hindi na ito apektado sa mga public, pero apektado ito sa atin as caregiver. Bakit? Kapag may restriction tayo sa mga gagawin natin, hindi natin ma-implement ng tama ang mga dapat i-implement. Okay? And this also causes dilemma sa atin. Hindi ako pwede kasi meron ako signs of COVID. So I have to quarantine myself. I have to exercise social distancing and chuchu ganon. Okay? So isa din yan. And another one is resource allocation dilemma. Now, dito, sabi natin, kapag marami ang demand at kukunti ang supply, kailangan ay the care should be equitable to all. Ibig sabihin, parehas-parehas. So, rationing and the use of standards of care. Crisis standards of care. Rationing. Like, for example, dito sa itong nagkaroon ng disaster kagaya nung, okay, example natin yung sa Turkey. Okay? So rationing, ibig sabihin, yung mga rescuer ay talagang divided. Okay? Kung saan area ang mas lalong mabigat ang apektado, meron siguro 5. Tapos doon sa meron 4. Yung mga ganyan on the severity of the incident and use the crisis standard of care. Ibig sabihin nun, you have to assess well your client or the victim prior to implementing. Kasi kung at the same time humarap sa iyo ay 2 victim, piliin mo kung sino ang uunahin mo. Piliin mo kung sino talaga ang i-rescue mo at isend mo sa hospital. Okay? So, ayan. Next. Now, dito naman ay sinasabi lang ito about nurses who to care despite personal risk. Dahil meron tayo obligation to work as serving others. Okay, so nurses should know in advance that they may be called to work during a disaster and should make advance arrangement with families and friends for communication, childcare, and other dependent care. So alam na natin yan. Naku, meron nangyari doon sa baka anytime pwede. Minsan naman meron, like for example yung sa summer, meron yan ina-assign mga nurses, kinukuha sa mga ibang hospital for medical mission papuntang summer. So isipin mo yan, ay baka isa ako sa mga tatawagan. Teka, ayusin ko na. O kaya sino ba nandyan sa asawa? Dadi, kung for example, tawagan ako para ma-attend doon sa ito ang mga dapat natin gawin, chuchuchu, ganyan. Mag-communicate tayo, usually sa gabi lang kasi busy yan sa mga hapon or umaga. Yung pag-alaga ng bata, ito ang gagawin. O yung mga ganyan bagay. Okay? Moral obligation for special training. So if, for example, you are one of considered as disaster responder, so meron kang obligation to improve your skills. Okay? Improve mo yung skills mo para you can effectively respond when it comes to responding during disaster. And of course, the norm, non-discrimination. So non-discrimination dito, again, this is crucial. Non-discrimination. Kay may kapansanan, kay bata, kay kailangan may equitable care sila. Okay, now, sabi natin, the vulnerable people should be your priority. Okay yan, vulnerable people Sino-sino yon? Bata, babae, buntis, matatanda, yung may mga kapansanan, yung may mga sakit like sakit sa puso, sakit sa ganyan. Yun yung mga vulnerable people. So unahin mo sila kaysa naman yung mga normal na kaya naman nila ang sarili. Okay? Na kunti lang ang mga sugat-sugat. Okay? So non-discrimination should also be part of your duty to treat. Restrictions on liberty. Okay, dito, now restriction, dito sa atin hindi gaano ang impact nito, tong ethical issue. Kasi parang sumusunod na lang tayo eh. O dapat kasi quarantine. O sige, quarantine. Pero in other parts of the world, they have their tawag nito, they have their right. Talagang ine-exercise nila yung right nila, yung autonomy nila. Ito ang decision ko. So, ito dapat ang gagawin. Kaya, ang dami talagang, makikita nyo kahit sa YouTube, nag-aaway dahil ayaw mag-mask, o para sa sarili na nila yun ayaw mag-mask. Meron kasing mga establishment doon, hindi talaga pumapayag na hindi ka mag-mask. So, meron din mga tao, ayaw talaga mag-mask. So, ayan, nagkukos ng commotions. Okay? So, ito, restriction of liberty, dito sa atin walang problema. Okay? Pero sa ibang bansa to, talagang apektado. May impact talaga. Lalo na sa mga matitigas ang ulo na talagang very very specific sila. Ito ang decision ko. I have my right to do my own decision. I am in my logic mind, chuchu, ganon. Okay? So yan. Isolation is usually defined by means of separation from other known to have communicable disease. Ginagawa din natin ito. But again, sinasabi ko sa inyo na in other parts of the world, this may not be as well accepted. Okay? Kasi nga, because of the liberty, of the autonomy, of the rights, mga ganon bagay. Okay? Then, bakit ba ang daming restriction of na? Okay. So, social distancing and physical distancing, alam na natin yan and we understand that very well. So, dito sa atin walang problema yan. Okay? So, the restriction of movement of a potentially infectious person is highly problematic. Okay? Now, dahil ito ay isang infectious disease, it violates the Code of Ethics of the American Nurses Association, which says respect for the inherent dignity of individuals, which is the nurse's primary commitment to the patient. Oo, ito nga ang kasama din to, meron din tayo to sa Code of Ethics natin. Okay? Kailangan respetuhin natin, ganun-ganun. Pero when it comes to infectious disease, again, nandyan ang word safety. When it comes to safety, kailangan talaga natin i-implement ang dapat. Ano ang mga implementation? Restriction, isolation, quarantine, yung ganun. Okay? So, this is an exemption to the rule. Kung sinabi ang Code of Ethics natin na lahat ng individuals ay irespeto natin, which is the nurse's primary commitment, pero hindi lahat ay sundan. Sometimes we have to be authoritative, okay, para masundan nila ang gusto natin. Bakit? Dahil gusto lang natin safety nila. Okay? Ayan. Sabihin, when it comes to public safety, priority talaga ang public safety. Yung personal liberty should be set aside. Kailangan mag-quarantine muna. Kailangan i-isolate muna. Okay? Kasi kung hindi, anong mangyayari? Kakalat ng dami-dami yan. Okay? Particularly sa infectious diseases. Okay, resource allocation dilemma. Sabi natin, rationing, kailangan ganito, ganito, ganito. Pero dapat equitable. Okay? So, ito yung resource allocation. So, mga resources na kailangan, like for example, medical supplies, antibiotics, antitoxins, pain medications, vaccine, and people or personnel. Kailangan equitable. Or we say, meron tayong distributive justice. So, each and every person involved or every victim should receive the same, should be taken care of. Okay? So, ayan. So, next natin is we talk about triage. Okay? When talking about triage, yes po. Ay, wala pa. Ang alam ko meron, baka diretso na sa taas.
Sigat na lang.
Oo.
Maraming po kasi
Oo, wala.
lalo yung gilid po ng mga chat na lang.
Oo, sige. To triage, the casualties are sorted according to the needs and medical utility. To the needs, ibig sabihin yun, need ng tao. Kailangan ba talaga itong iunahin? Kailangan ba talaga siya ang pangalawa? Kailangan ba talaga yung isa-set aside na natin? Okay? So, triaging is considered as sorting out. Meron tayong A, B, C, D, E or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2. Okay? So, these are the categories when you triage. Okay? Kapag pula, ibig sabihin, importanteng ngayon din. Ngayon at ngayon, hindi na tayo mag-waste ng time. Gawin na natin. Okay? Ano ang characteristics ng tao? Obstructed ang airway. Hindi makahinga maigi. Saturation niya is below 80. Heart rate niya is 130 and above kasi nagko-compensate. Glasgow Coma Scale siya plus minus 8 in the verge of coma na si patient. So ngayon at ngayon din, kailangan natin i-rescue si patient. Okay? Then the next one is urgent. So this patient can be categorized as urgent kasi kahit hindi natin gawin ngayon, pwede pa siya maghintay kahit 15 minutes bago natin siya i-rescue. So these are people with threatened airway. Meron nakakahinga naman maigi pero threatened nga lang. And then saturation niya between 80 to 89. Wait lang ha. Wait lang guys. Ba't ngayon? Yung INP mo, nag-duty ka na? Ha? Yung si community, nag-i-start ka na? Yung lecture, ano yan na? Nag-start na kayo last Thursday. Ay, dalawa pala ito. Okay, sige. And then the color yellow is pwede pa siya maghintay kahit isang oras. And the green one is the non-urgent. So during the disaster event, okay, ito yung mga una natin pinapauwi. Okay, sasabihin natin, okay, kung sino ang nakakalakad at walang sugat or meron minor sugat, pwede na umuwi or pwede nang pumunta sa side na ito at bibigyan kayo ng first aid. Yung mga ganyan. So, ibig sabihin, yung 1, 2, 3 na isort nyo na away from those people who are non-urgent. Okay? So, doon sa mga urgent, so makikita mas sort out mo pa ngayon into 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Now, talking about the colors. It depends on where you are that you can say, ito kasi sa Pilipinas, ganito ang color. Okay? Pero universally, the color should always be red ang pinaka-urgent. Okay? Now, in some cases, dinadagdag pa nila ang tawag nito, ang black. Pero black hindi na kasi ano na yun eh, hindi na do not resuscitate na yun, wala na, ano na lang, minuto na lang inaantay. Okay? Pero commonly, it should be dito sa atin, red, yellow, and green. Okay? But in some others, meron pa silang subcategories. Okay. Now, ethical issues related to resource allocation, the use of social utility over medical utility. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Distribution is indispensable to attaining a major social goal. Okay. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Now, example, yung rescuer, nasugatan, kumbaga na ano din siya, na apektado din siya. Okay? So, pero rescuer siya. So, sino ang unahin mo? Yung nandun sa nakahiga o yung rescuer na nakaupo na talagang nasugatan na kailangan din ng tulong. Like for example, nasugatan dahil nagkaroon ng profuse bleeding. Pero okay naman siya, wala naman problema. Sino ang uunahin mo sa dalawa? E di unahin mo yung rescuer kasi after that, makakatulong pa siya sa'yo. Okay? May bagay na matutulungan pa rin niya. Unless na kailangan din talaga siya i-transport na sa hospital. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng the use of social utility over medical utility. Then, discrimination from a legally protected population. Presidential order to give priority to people with disabilities in all aspects of the disaster continuum. Dito, again, mag-arise ang dilemma. Kasi vulnerable yan, people with disability yan. So, syempre, unahin nila. Okay? Yun yung, nasa presidential decree yan eh. May order yan eh. Pero, yung person with disability, wala naman hindi naman gaano apektado kesa naman doon sa walang disability pero greatly affected sa disaster. Okay? So, ano ba talaga? Sundin ko ba ang batas o sundin ko yung ano ang alam ko dito? This is where your decision making should be accountable. Magiging accountable ka ito sa action mo, sa decision mo. So, ano ba talaga sa pananaw mo? Otherwise, you will be liable and things like that. Kung for example, anong mangyari sa pasyente. Kung for example, may mangyari kay person with disability, pero ang judgment mo ay hindi naman talaga siya as urgent. Pero you really have to have a well-documented description kung ano siya para dito ma-save ka dahil hindi mo na siya ang pinili mo kundi yung isa na well-documented description din na kailangan talaga unahin siya. Okay? So ito yon ibig sabihin. Like for example, old people, 90 years old. Okay? May sakit. Tapos yung isa, o person with disability yun, at yung isa, normal, pero kailangan ng resuscitation, anong unahin mo? O di unahin mo yung sa resuscitation kaysa yung isa. Pero kasi, yung isa, person with disability,